Well, welcome to our monthly sales and marketing webinar hosted by Developers Advantage. I'm Mona Hilton, CEO of Genesis Global Technologies and the authors of Developers Advantage. And I'd like to start off by welcoming you to March. So tell me, how are your New Year's resolutions going? Well, if you're like most people I talk to, the sparkle is starting to wear off and the luster is starting to fade a little bit on our New Year's resolutions, if you even remember what they are. March is when the health club traffic begins to wane, the diet commercials start to slow down a bit, and unfortunately the excitement starts to fade as less and less people are talking about their New Year's resolution. So that is exactly why, for me and for many people, the new year always starts off with such promise and inspiration and hope and excitement and anticipation, but life gets in the way. So it's important that we continue to spark the flame of inspiration and keep our goals in front of us and keep them alive and well. You know, it's often been said motivation is kind of like bathing. It doesn't last forever, and that's why it has to be done every day. I totally get that. So now today, I don't want to focus so much on why focus is important. It's key to success. It's what makes things happen. It's how we reach our goals. It's why you get so much more done the last day before vacation than you do for weeks working up to it. We get it. Focus is the best and often the only way to reach our goals, but I'm preaching to the choir, and I know you know that. I don't have to convince you of the why. Instead, I'd like to take a little bit of a different angle. Now, last month, we did a webinar on No Lead Left Behind, and I ended that webinar by talking about the power of focus. I actually shared with those of you who are on that webinar this picture of my daughter during a basketball game. Now, the season has just wrapped up, and her primary sport is softball. I told you how this year the girls' basketball coach got a hold of her, asked her to try out for the basketball team. Now, obviously, she's not exceptionally tall, and you can thank me for that. But the coach liked her speed, but most importantly, he told me he liked her focus on the court. So by now you figured out she made the basketball team. She was the only ninth grader to make the varsity, and she even starts sometimes. But I've watched her through the season. I've watched as the coach groomed her, conditioned her, taught her plays. I've watched her work herself to the point of exhaustion. But mostly, I've witnessed her laser focus on the court. Now, here's an example of what I'm talking about. During this particular game in which I shot this photo, and I apologize, it's a little blurry, but Alexandra stole the ball from the opposing team on their end of the court, and she headed like a mad woman to our end of the court with that ball. Even though it's blurry, you can probably tell from the picture how determined and focused she is in her face. She was not going to let anything get in the way of her in that basket. She was using her body. She's using her arm, as you can see here, to push away her opponent. She was completely laser focused. And as I'm watching this, it dawned on me that we need that sharp of a laser focus to get to any goal we have. That's the kind of focus that blocks out every single thing but the goal. There's no opponent, no obstacle, no thoughts can get in our way. You know, by the way, you don't have to believe every single thought that you have. It's so easy to talk ourselves out of our own victory, to entertain thoughts and distractions and activities, good ones, bad ones, it doesn't matter, but they get us off track. So I use Alexandra's determination and focus as inspiration for me. Look at her. Look at how focused. You know, sometimes focus is just as much about what you're not thinking about. And I can tell you what she wasn't thinking about. She wasn't thinking about her Facebook likes or who unfriended her on Instagram or her victories or her failures last year, last week, even yesterday. She wasn't thinking about politics, world peace, what needed to be on her grocery list, who won the Super Bowl, what her hair looked like, and for a 14-year-old, that's a big deal, what her friends were thinking about her. She wasn't thinking about her to-do list or tons of emails in her inbox, or tomorrow's board presentation, the latest news on LinkedIn, or any of the many other things that bombard our minds every day. You see how easy it is to get distracted. She had one thing on her mind, and that was that basketball net. And honestly, God help you if you got between her and that net. She was going to use every part of her body to get to her goal. So my question is for you today, what is your goal? What would change your world if you accomplished it? Now imagine what laser focus applied to your business, to your life, to any goal that you have. What could you accomplish with laser focus? Now, I don't know if you know this, but 95% of people admit that they struggle to focus. So today, instead of talking about why focus is important, what I want to talk about is how to focus, on the how. Because according to some recent statistics you might have heard, in today's culture, we have the attention span of a goldfish. 9 seconds. Now, 9 seconds is not enough to get us to our goal. So today I really want to tackle really practical tips that will help you create an atmosphere, strategies, tricks, hacks, whatever, to be able to focus and maintain focus for a period of time, longer than 9 seconds, long enough to get to your goal. And of course, I'd like to show you how we empower and strengthen your focus on business and sales follow-up using Developer's Advantage as a tool. But first, let's define focus in a really simple and practical way. Focus has been defined as follow one course until successful. I'm a simple person, and I really appreciate that definition because it captures the essence of focus. One thing persistently and consistently until you get what you're after. Now, we know we can only focus at one thing at a time. No matter how much you think or you try to convince yourself you're multitasking, really we're only fooling ourselves. But let me demonstrate that for a second. Humor me and play along. Don't be shy. Extend your right arm all the way out in front of you. Now put your thumb up in the air like Will Smith here. Now look at your thumb. Focus only on your thumb. Look at your thumb. What does everything around your thumb look like? Probably out of focus. But if you break your focus for a moment and you start looking around, you'll notice when you do, your thumb goes blurry. That's why it's so critical to pick one thing to focus on at a time. The silver lining of focusing on one thing at a time is that you get what you focus on. We move towards our focus. That's why negativity or fear manifests. And conversely, people who expect good tend to experience good. It's also why you may have noticed that when you go on a diet and you tend to think more about food, if you focus too long on food, things don't go so well, at least not for me. Now, since as a culture we've proven that we can't seem to maintain focus and willpower for a whole year, hence the failure of so many New Year's resolutions, one secret is to focus on what we call time compression, or they call it the 12, and we identify how long it should take to get it done, and then compress that into a shorter period of time. We seem to be better able to buckle down and go hard for shorter periods of time than for an entire year. So we might as well leverage that. Now, I'm currently reading this book on the screen, which is The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. Excellent book. I highly encourage you to read it. And our company is actually in the process of tackling a big company product launch using those strategies, but I'll share more about that in a moment. But you know, the truth is, most focus targets, we don't need 12 weeks. Some we only need 12 days, but most, all we need is a portion of the day. In any case, in working on this, I've found some hacks to make the process of focus more productive, more efficient for myself, and dare I say, even more fulfilling. And I'd like to share some of the focus hacks that I have found that work really well for me. Hopefully, they'll help you as well. The first of those focus hacks is to remove all distractions. Now, by all, I mean all. Silence your phone, turn off all those applications on your desktop, including your email and all those open tabs in your browser, Google, or what have you, that aren't related to your focus target. And yes, Facebook. Yes, even Facebook. You know, Facebook does a great job of being invasive and popping up and reminding you, so you really have to shut it down. And you know, for me, that temptation to quickly pop into Outlook to check the email, I don't know if you guys struggle with that, but that's a problem for me. Don't do it. Completely close anything that might tempt you to divert, to distract, to take a break, even for a second, because all it takes is a second to get off target. Now, I understand this takes discipline. For me, I have to close my door. And multitasking doesn't work. Maybe that's why as a culture we have an attention span of only 9 seconds, because we're always trying to multitask. The other suggestion is to clear your desk. Now, I had a reputation in college that might have carried over even to today. My roommates used to say that they always knew when I had a paper due or a test the next day because my room was clean. Yes, it was definitely avoidance, and it was a procrastination tactic that I used. But I do believe that it's really a good idea to have all visual distractions out of your way when you're focusing. So put everything out of sight and hopefully out of mind if you can. Also, use an online timer. Now, I like timers like this that show you the countdown so you can see and be fully aware of the time ticking away. You can find them online. This one's free. There's just something powerful and motivating about watching the timer wind down. For me, it creates a sense of urgency, just like the alarm at the end did. Sorry about that, folks. Another hack that I use is to play music, and pick music without words. So by music without words, what I mean is don't play instrumentals to songs that you know the words to, because I'll find myself humming along to the tune. My favorite type of music when I'm focusing is Mozart, because I read an article once that said that classical music makes you think better, and Lord knows I need that. So I've created a Mozart station on Pandora, and when people hear Mozart coming from my office, they know I'm focused, they know not to stop by. Now, of course, if your focus project is to make calls, you don't want to play your music, or maybe you don't want to play it very loud. But music is a great way to help you concentrate. Another hack is decide what's negotiable and what's not negotiable in advance. Now, what I do is I keep a list by my computer or my phone. Whenever a thought comes up that you absolutely have to do right away, you forgot all about it, or a thought that would have normally sidetracked you, write it down. In 99% of the cases or so, it can wait until you finish your focus time. And when someone comes by your door, even though it's closed, they mean well, but they tell you, hey, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but tell them politely that you're right in the middle of a timed, what I call jam session or deadline, and you promise to find them as soon as you're done. For me, unless aliens are invading, it's usually a pretty acceptable answer. Also set goals and rewards. So, for example, tell yourself, when I finish making 50 calls, I'll break, I'll get a cup of coffee, I'll take a stretch, I'll go for a walk, I'll check my email, or if you're like me, you'll eat a piece of chocolate, which is my favorite reward. And don't, under any circumstances, reward yourself until you actually make the goal. Have a little integrity with yourself. On the flip side, after a focused stretch of time, you really do need to take a break. They often refer to this as the run-rest cycle. There's a lot of science behind it. It's well documented by professional athletes. You have to rest. You have to recover. Now, create a focus block or blocks that works for you. Maybe it's a 12-week year, like our company is doing right now. I mentioned to this earlier. So here's the deal. We are launching a new service, kind of a product. There are 4 people on this project launch team. The goal of this project is very aggressively optimistic, which is kind of our nice way of saying it's a cray-cray goal. So what we've done is we've broken it up into 3 milestones of 4 weeks apiece. Each week and each 4-week milestone has a goal. And we're trying to meet as often as possible, trying to do it every day, sometimes twice a day, to assess our progress and tweak anything that needs to be tweaked. Our messages, our approach, what we're doing. We're really pushing the limits on this one. So our slogan is pedal to the metal. Now, speaking of which, another truth that we hold is that you can't control the results. All you can do is control your activity. So make sure that your activity is productive, not just activity for the sake of activity. And of course, make sure that you do the activity necessary to be successful. That's why we're tweaking as often as every day. We want to make sure that our activity is moving us in the right direction where we want to go, because we don't have any time for mistakes when we're moving this fast. We believe that the results will take care of themselves. So yesterday, I overheard a conversation in the hallway. It was 2 of the people who were involved in the product launch of this service that we're launching. And one of them was sharing about what his results were and the feedback he was getting and how well it was going. And the other one said, wow, isn't that refreshing? Look how quickly you're getting results. See, that's what happens when you focus and you buckle down. You start to see things quicker, which is, of course, a morale booster. Now, maybe out of necessity or not, you give yourself 2 days to do a project that would normally take 2 weeks. I'm talking out of experience because I did that in preparing for this webinar. Because of the blitz that our company is doing, I didn't have the normal 2 weeks that I would normally spend, researching and writing and creating the visuals and rehearsing for the webinar that I do between things. I normally spend a boatload of hours, but instead I forced myself to compress it all into 2 days. So hopefully this will go well and you'll tell me it worked. But granted, I worked very late last night into the wee hours of the morning, and then I hit it again really early this morning, but it works for me. Which brings me to my next point, which is you have to be able to negotiate. I had to negotiate with my colleagues, with my family, with my friends to get the focused time and solitude I needed to pull this off during such a short, compressed period of time. Yes, of course, I missed some cool conversations, some meetings, some interactions, some family time, but I know that if I want to reach my goals, I have to say no to a lot of good things in order to say yes to great things, and I'm okay with that. And one of the side benefits for me of this focused time is that you're more productive because you stay in the zone, if you will. Stopping and starting over and over again wastes time, and it makes me frustrated. It's kind of like your car's highway mileage versus your city driving mileage. It takes more energy to stop and start short distances than it does to get up to speed and stay there for the long distance and be efficient. So let me prove it to you. I'm going to show you a picture. I want you to take a quick look at it. What do you see? Do you see a young princess? Okay, 9 seconds are gone. Time's up. Let's move on. Maybe you set aside a 90-minute jam session once or twice a day. No, not that kind of jam session. This kind of jam session. Now, jam sessions are one of my most favorite strategies. I try to do one every chance I get. For a while there, I was trying to do one every day. I find that 90-minute jam sessions first thing in the morning work best for me, before the day has a chance to derail me. Otherwise, it may be hours before I can get back to my jam session, if I can get to it at all that day. Now, sometimes if I don't have an entire big project, I'll make lists of smaller goals that I want to accomplish in my 90-minute jam session, if I don't have something big enough to fill up the whole time. Like, maybe I need to call this list of people, or I need to write this article, I need to do this and that, what have you. And if I can make a confession to you, I've actually found myself looking forward to my 90-minute jam sessions because it's so fulfilling. I feel so accomplished. I'm happy with myself when I get so much done. I tell you what, it beats the heck out of leaving at the end of the day feeling frustrated that I was so busy, I did so much, but I have nothing to show for it. After a very productive jam session, I've been known to grab my purse, head out the door, and explain to anyone who'll listen to me, which is getting smaller every day, but I've said, I've done so much good today that I get to keep my job one more day. I'll see you guys in the morning. So what if your job doesn't work that way? What if your role is more reactive and you can't control your own schedule? That's a really good excuse, and I've used it myself many times. But I found the reality is we've all been given the same 24 hours a day, whether you're rich or poor, famous or not. And I promise you, there is some area of your life you can apply this to, whether it's at work, which is the context we're sharing here today, or in your personal life and exercise and food prep, in family time and date night, pretty much anything. You just have to decide what you're willing to give up, to sacrifice. So since we're primarily managers and sales and marketing people on today's call, let's apply this concept, this notion of the power of focus, to something very practical, near and dear to our hearts, something that directly impacts our bottom line, our success in business, basically our pocketbooks, which is my favorite topic, follow-up. Executing follow-up is one of those things that doesn't work so well when you stop and start. You have to get into the zone. You have to put yourself in your prospect's shoes and brainstorm, where is this person in the process and what can I do to help them along their buying journey? Now, it sounds easy, but you can burn up a lot of brain cells trying to evaluate each situation individually, figure out what is best to do next, what have others done in the past, what have you done in the past that's worked. So let me switch gears on you one more time. Remember that young princess? Let's look at her again and take another look at her. Now, I'm going to give you more than 9 seconds this time. Focus on her for a bit. Do you see a young princess, or do you also see an old lady? Look harder. Focus. Now, most of you who are focused on the picture can probably see her now. It just takes some time and focus. How about now? You see the old lady now? Pretty cool, huh? Well, just for fun, here's another one. Do you see a frog, or do you see a horse's head? Maybe you see both. So let's go back to focusing on follow-up. Not having focus time to figure out the best strategy for every prospect is probably one of the reasons that most people simply don't do follow-up consistently. They mean well, but like I said earlier, life gets in the way. Now, we talked in depth and detail about detailed follow-up strategies and activities in last month's webinar. So if you're interested in that recording, it was called No Leads Left Behind. Send us a chat and we'll be happy to send you that recording. And in full disclosure, I'm contractually obligated to show you how we crush follow-up failure in Developers Advantage and empower you to focus on the high-value follow-up activities that get you through to your goals. Of course, I'm just kidding about being contractually obligated, but it sounded good, and I am excited to share this with you. I've never seen this anywhere else, but I've seen over and over again how effective this strategy I'm about to show you is for improving the frequency of your follow-up, the quality of your follow-up, and the timeliness of your follow-up. But enough talk, let me show it to you. So in every sales opportunity, whether it's an opportunity to sell a new home, an opportunity for a new resident, or an opportunity to serve a client with one of your services, there's ultimately a goal. Now let's say for the sake of discussion that that goal is a new home sale. In most cases, there are milestones, smaller steps on the way to that goal. Now those milestones are important benchmarks, but they're not always set in stone. They could be skipped if they're not necessary, and the buyer, for example, is ready to go straight to contract, or they might not happen in the same order, depending on the buyer's journey. Now, we've done a detailed webinar on the buyer's journey. If you'd like that, let us know. We'll be happy to send you that recording. But we borrowed a line from one of our clients that says, sales is not a linear process. Things happen that impact the buyer's journey. There might be a delay that's caused by a vacation, or there might even be an acceleration that's prompted by health issues. Anything can happen along the way, and you have to be ready for it and able to adjust. Now, milestones can consist of a set of frequently used actions, tasks, follow-up activities, things designed to keep that prospect engaged with you and guide them through to reach that milestone. These are the common tasks that frequently come up time after time for each milestone. And essentially, they become a library of tools or a checklist, if you will, of follow-up suggestions that you can refer to when you're doing your follow-up. And by preparing them in advance and queuing them up ahead of time, you can have them all ready, pre-written, spell-checked, ready to take off the shelf, ready to use. So here's what it looks like in Developer's Advantage. From your home screen, you can click on one of your A prospects, Charles and Julie Andrews. You can look at the different follow-up goals that are available, and then determine who do you want that goal assigned to. In this case, Pat, and we're going to click on the new home goal. So we're going to take a look at the milestone, expand it to see what, and after you take a look at it, you go, okay, what's most appropriate, and you make that milestone active. Some literally prompts you through the different follow-ups, and if you saw that green bar, that shows you how effective that becomes for prospects, for realtors. You know, it's a lot of options and select from one than to try to recreate the wheel every time and come up with a unique follow-up activity, and then try to remember which ones you've already used for that prospect, or it just saves a lot of thinking and burning up of brain cells, as I call it. I also think there's another advantage, and that is that there's a certain perceptible, relaxed confidence that you exude when you know what you're doing. I personally believe that a lot of people come off sounding like salespeople simply because of lacking confidence. Maybe it's in their own ability or in what they're doing. But we'll talk about that on another webinar. Experienced managers also love this goal-driven follow-up because it allows them to easily onboard and train newbies on how to do follow-up. It gives them kind of a toolbox of predefined, recommended follow-up actions, call scripts, emails, and can even include verbiage for the email or the verbiage for a handwritten note so they don't have to think about it. Saves a lot of thinking time, frustrations, mistakes, and making follow-up more timely because people don't get stuck in the mud. It also allows new people to follow the same follow-up process that the experienced salespeople are doing, so they're getting higher quality of results. Managers also have the ability to run reports that show them what prospects and contacts are where on their goals, like you're about to see here. So we're going to look at the new home sale goal for all people, and you can see exactly what prospects are on it, where they're at. There it is in black and white, actually in blue too, more detail. Text, and we want to leads for all. This is an excellent tool for weekly sales meetings. It really takes the subjectivity out of your meetings. Now, one of the obstacles to stay in focus we found is just trying to keep track of all the things you need to do in your head. When you're trying to keep track of them in your head, you're taking up a lot of mental real estate, or for me, it's creating noise, and it keeps me up at night and keeps my attention kind of fractured. Now, we all know the benefits of keeping lists and checking off completed lists. Science actually shows that we get an endorphin rush when we check off a completed task, which is really cool. Now, Franklin Planner was the leader in time management in the late 80s and 90s. I don't know if anybody on this call remembers Franklin Planner. I used it. I guess I'm showing my age, but I loved it. In fact, I still have binders at my house from significant times in my life where I kept the journals in Franklin Planners. It was a great system to keep you organized and help you stay focused. I really consider it the predecessor to CRM, and the Franklin Planner proved the merits of having a follow-up plan. But for me, the Franklin Planner had a flaw, in my opinion. And that flaw is it was paper-based, which meant that every day you had to manually rewrite all the things you didn't accomplish the day before and move them forward to the next day. For me, I had a couple of problems with that. One, it wasn't the most motivating way for me to start the day by recapping what I didn't accomplish the day before, kind of my failures, if you will. And two, it took precious time to rewrite that list every day. Sometimes I just, frankly, didn't do it because I was lazy. Well, in Developer's Advantage, we eliminate that problem completely by giving you a fresh list of your tasks on your home screen every morning when you log in. Everything is laid out for you. There's no head scratching, no nail biting. Best of all, I don't have to clean out the refrigerator first. You can even check off your tasks that you complete and you get that rush of endorphin, which you'd have it done in 30 lead generation or product. A system like Developer's Advantage is such a powerful tool to help new communities leverage, maximize your focus, which is what it's all about. The goals and milestones I just showed you are just one example of how, like a good tool, the system does the heavy lifting for you. So you can focus on being laser sharp, productive, and efficient. Developer's Advantage is really a systematic engine. It generates a constant supply of high-quality internet leads that new communities want. It nurtures them. It automates a follow-up. It suggests follow-up nudges to ensure the highest possible number of leads become buyers, home buyers. Just before I came in here, Carmen handed me a statistic from a third party that I'd like to share with you. It's from the Annuitas Group, totally independent, and they just released this information. According to the Annuitas Group, after implementing marketing and sales automation, the average company gets a 77% increase in revenue and a 53% higher customer sales conversion rate. That's just marketing automation. Forget the sales automation I just showed you. Those are huge numbers. But I'm not here to pitch Developer's Advantage to you today. I'm here to share some of the hacks we found to maximize your ability to focus. However, of course, if you're interested in seeing how Developer's Advantage would systemize your community's marketing and your sales follow-up, we'd be delighted to help you. Just let us know you're interested. So back to our goals. What are your goals? Imagine what laser focus applied to your business, to your life, any goal that you have. What would you be capable of? I ask myself that question all the time. Now, as you know, I always love to end, as we wrap up, on a bit of inspiration. I love to read about and I love to study some of the most inspirational people who've ever walked the earth. And you might have guessed that Albert Einstein is one of them. I've used his quote so many times in the past, and I'm inspired by something that I just read about him. Albert Einstein was said to have focused hard every morning on getting all of his work done in the first hour of the day, so he could spend the rest of the day thinking. Think about that. As far as I'm concerned, if making focus a priority was good enough for Albert Einstein, it's certainly good enough for me. Well, thanks again for sharing part of your day with me today. If we can be of any help to you, please contact me. As I wrap up, I'd like to show you a clip by another genius that inspires me, Elon Musk. And until next month, enjoy this video, stay focused on your goals, and I'll see you here next month. Have a great day. And by the way, in case you're wondering, this is truly my desktop. So I'm not just, these are not just pretty words for me. I believe this.